Good evening. We are official. We are the mighty Unity of Livonia, a Course in Miracles study group. We are Livonia strong, or whatever church you're going to. Oh my goodness, hold on. Here's someone we haven't seen for a while. And her name is Julie. Let's see if we can get Julie here. Here she is. Hey, she's still looking good too. How you doing? Can you hear us, Julie?
Doesn't look like it.
Julie, are you there?
She's on mute.
She's on mute somehow.
Is she? Julie, can you hear me? Hi, I can't hear you. Do you have a mute? Can you unmute yourself?
She does not appear to be muted. It
I'm
looks
not
more like a mic issue.
Ah, now all of a sudden. Hey, welcome. Long time no see.
Yeah, sorry. I've just been really busy or got very distracted and busy with so many things. But I wanted to pop in and say hello today. I don't know if I'll stay for the whole thing, but I miss you guys and I appreciate you, and I hope everybody had nice holidays, and it's a new year, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here.
Well, good. And we're all happy to have you here and stay for as long as you can. Gina said she had to leave early tonight. Anyhow, no worries, because you've always been exactly where you're supposed to be. So I'm glad to see you when I see you, and I'm glad to see you even when I don't see you, if that makes sense. Good deal. Where'd you say you're from, Julie?
California.
Yeah, from California. So we got the West Coast thing going on tonight. So some in this group remember you. The others, I'm sure, will get acquainted very soon. Let me say hello to Joan. And Joan, the cat's missing. I didn't see your cat last night at ACIM Talks. Well, all right. Just know he'll show up and we'll all feel a lot better. Not that you aren't welcome too.
I just want to say before we get started, thank you to Gina, because Gina offered to come over to my house to help me with my computer. I've had a lot of problems with it. And somebody turned the Zoom completely off the computer and put it completely back on. And finally it worked. And Gina made a Zoom meeting, and that's how we found out it worked. So thank you, Gina. You were wonderful.
Yeah, we're lucky to have Gina and people like Gina. Gee whiz, we've been meeting on Zoom since the pandemic, haven't we? So we're quite a family here. Listen, as you know, tonight is kind of a significant evening because Julie, I don't know if you know, we just finished A Course in Miracles. So tonight we're gonna be on something kind of different. It's the two supplements to A Course in Miracles. Are you familiar with them? One is called Psychotherapy, and the
it's in the
other,
book. It's in the same book.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
have
mean,
a book
it's
with
in my
them?
book.
Right. Now, Sue, you're holding up a book. Does it have the supplements?
I don't think so. It's a workbook for students and the manual for teachers, but I can
Mm.
listen.
Okay.
I can't read.
Gina, do you have copies of those supplements?
No,
that
you were gonna send them to me.
Gina has them.
Oh,
So
Gina, could you
not
please
in your
send them
head.
to
Are
me?
you gonna?
Yep, so it's gonna come in an email, a PDF that you have to click on it and then it's gonna live on the computer. It's not gonna be a printout.
Attachment? Is it gonna be an attachment?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll send it right now, okay?
Yeah. So
Okay,
you
well, I'll
do
take it off
very
after the meeting. I'll just listen.
Okay. And so listen, without further ado, why don't we just get right into it? I
Okay.
will do the readers list here. Somehow Sherilyn White is number 1. How does that happen?
Because I'm the early bird. You do it in the order to show up.
And that's why you get the worm or
Yeah.
whatever, metaphorically. So there's Sherilyn, number 1. Gina is number 2. Frank is number 3. Ron is 4. Hildegard, are you reading?
No, I'm passing today.
All right. Ron
Sorry.
is number 5.
She's
Julie,
I was number 4.
4.
4.
Ron is number 4. Oh my goodness, I've written Ron on the sheet twice.
Let him talk twice.
Okay, who's number
All right.
5?
Wait. Hold on. Ron is 4. Correct so far.
Yeah.
All right. Julie, are you reading? You're muted again.
No, I'm not reading tonight.
Okay. And so we've got Joan is reader 5. And of course, Sue can't read because she doesn't have the
haven't.
supplements. All right, my friends. I think we're ready to go, Sherilyn. We are on.
All right.
Now, you know, we read the intro, the general
Yes.
introductions
You
already.
don't want to do that again, right? You don't want to do that
So
again.
let's start on page 2
Okay.
and start there, please.
All right. The purpose of psychotherapy. Very simply, the purpose of psychotherapy is to remove the blocks to truth. Its aim is to aid the patient in abandoning his fixed delusional system and to begin to reconsider the spurious cause and effect relationships on which it rests. No one in this world escapes fear, but everyone can reconsider its causes and learn to evaluate them correctly. God has given everyone a teacher whose wisdom and help far exceed whatever contributions an earthly therapist can provide. Yet there are times and situations in which an earthly patient-therapist relationship becomes the means through which he offers his greater gifts to both.
And let's do one more, right? Gina?
Okay. So Gina's next.
Yep,
Gina,
Okay.
you ready?
yep, number 2, right? The better
Yes.
purpose. What better purpose could any relationship have than to invite the Holy Spirit to enter into it and give it his own great gift of rejoicing? What higher goal could there be for anyone than to learn to call upon God and hear his answer? And what more transcendent aim can there be than to recall the way, the truth, and the life, and to remember God? To help in this is the proper purpose of psychotherapy. Could anything be holier? For psychotherapy, correctly understood, teaches forgiveness and helps the patient to recognize and accept it. And in his healing is the therapist forgiven with him.
Okay, it gets kind of deep in those last sentences in paragraph 2 made me have a question, but let's start here. Are there any psychiatrists, psychologists, or other types of official psychotherapists in our group tonight? Sue and Frank. So this should be,
Right.
what'd you say, Sherilyn?
I just was mentioning Frank's name as the other person.
Yeah.
30 years ago, no.
Okay. So is this ringing true for you so far in terms of purpose of psychotherapy?
Yes,
Is this what you were taught in school?
there are some differences.
Okay. You want to share any of those? Don't worry if you don't want to. We don't have
No,
to. Okay. Let's see what your comments are on the 2 paragraphs we've read so far. How about remove the blocks to truth? In your practices, the ones that are with me, Sue, Frank, did you feel like that was your purpose, to remove the blocks to truth?
no,
So you see, as usual with A Course in Miracles, it seems to take an unusual approach to things that we define differently. Um, do you see any spiritual connections in psychotherapy that maybe you weren't taught about in school?
yes.
Yeah. Did they talk a lot about the Holy Spirit in your training?
No,
Uh-huh.
but I suggested there's a better way of living and thinking and moving in that direction.
All right. Um, did you know what a lofty calling psychotherapy is? Because he starts out in paragraph 2, what better purpose could any relationship have than to invite the Holy Spirit to enter into it and give the relationship his own great gift of rejoicing? So I'm just saying, really, my observation as we get started is that we're embarking here upon kind of a unique and different approach to psychotherapy, starting from what the heck the goals are of psychotherapy. The last 2 sentences are here. The last 2 sentences in sentence 2, it starts at sentence 6. For psychotherapy, correctly understood, teaches forgiveness and helps the patient, but it's that last sentence. And in the patient's healing, did I say that right? And then his healing, the patient, is the therapist forgiven with him? As a psychotherapist, did you ever think you needed forgiveness?
No,
Yeah. So what we learned in our formal training, this seems to have elements in it that are different from how our schools train psychotherapists. So I'm just wondering, aren't you already intrigued by what
Yes.
we're
yes,
going to talk about, right, Sue?
I'm a hypnotherapist, an inner child specialist, and a long-term specialist.
Yeah.
I always believe all of us need forgiveness for whatever in order to be able to live life peacefully. And I specialized in dyslexia and learning disabilities with teenagers and adults. And yeah, they needed forgiveness. I needed forgiveness.
Sure,
Okay. So
not
you,
unreasonable.
yeah. So you see the mutuality in this already, as opposed to one having something and giving it to somebody else. There's kind of like both are going to be receiving. And that's the thing to me about this definition of psychotherapy, uh, which I'm sure we're not surprised. The Course in Miracles has a different approach to a lot of things. So let's kind of move on. Comment? Was there a comment?
Two.
I have a comment. What intrigued me about unity, and when people ask me what unity is, one of the main features of unity, especially unity past with Gene Sorensen and Jack Boland and Marianne Williamson as well, is it's psychology and metaphysics. There's a tremendous amount of psychology in unity, and there are tools to work with in order to heal. And
Yeah.
I thought that was just fabulous.
Well, I think I first heard this from Marianne Williamson, but really she was quoting from A Course in Miracles, as we'll see.
Sure.
It was something like practice at their highest. There is no difference between spirituality and psychotherapy. And I've learned from some of the scientific things that they're finding out, like with quantum physics, that there's no difference at their highest. All of these disciplines are arriving at the same conclusions. For example, in psychotherapy, one of the things that stood out to me is I'm sorry, did I say quantum physics? I'm losing.
No.
Did mention it.
In quantum physics, we've always searched for the smallest unit of matter of which all matter is created. And we discovered molecules and things like that. And then we discovered the atom. And then we say, oh, we found it. Everything is made of atoms. And as our technology improved, we found out that atoms aren't the smallest things, because atoms are made up of even smaller particles. Have you ever heard of quarks?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Subatomic particles. And then there are electrons and protons and everything everything is smaller and smaller and smaller. And finally, the conclusion is everything is not made of matter. Everything is formed of what makes matter. And that's the same origin of everything that religions talk about. Atoms don't come from atoms. There's something that makes atoms. And that's kind of the same power that religion ostensibly is helping us to reach. And similarly, psychotherapy seems to be helping us to reach that same source. So you remember the big fight between science and religion, between evolution and creationism, and we used to fight over which one is correct. And now we're finding out they're all correct. They all end up in the same place with this invisible power that's able to manifest our physical universe. So, isn't it nice though when you see no matter what the form, it's all a form of the same thing? Have I gotten off already so far? I'm going to shut up. But there's a certain calm when you say, Eureka, I found it. I found the answer to everything. Let's go on further if that's all right. We're on paragraph 3 now, aren't we?
Mhm.
And I'm sure we're up to Frank.
Everyone who needs help, regardless of the form of the distress, is attacking himself, and the peace of mind in suffering is consequence. These tendencies are often described as self-destructive, and the patient often regards them in that way himself. What he does not realize and needs to leave is that there's a self which can attack and be attacked as well, is a concept he made up. Further, he cherishes it himself. He cherishes it, defends it, and is sometimes even is willing to seeing his life on behalf, for he regards as himself. This self he sees as being acted on, reacting to external forces as they demand and helpless minds the power of the world.
Yeah. And by the way, one preface, I'll offer another. Maybe I should just say, you'll probably get a headache with this. All right. But
Okay.
stick with it. I'm just going to tell you in advance. The other thing to share, I know we've only done this one paragraph, but why do you think do you know Helen Schuffman and what she did for a living?
She
She was a
psychologist.
Right.
psychologist or a psychiatrist.
All right. So I want to make sure we review that. It'll give some sort of perspective to why this is even a subject. Now, she wrote these, this particular supplement, she started it in 1973. So, timing wise, I guess she had just finished the manuscript for A Course in Miracles, right?
Mm.
They were still out looking for a publisher for the Course in Miracles manuscript. And apparently, she started hearing the voice again on the subject of psychotherapy. Now, Helen wasn't just a psychotherapist, she was a renowned psychotherapist. She was clinical psychologist at Columbia University. So she was a very prestigious psychologist. So I only mention that so you could see how maybe it was fitting that this writing came to her. It was a field she was very familiar with, albeit maybe it gave her a lot of insight when the Holy Spirit spoke to her. Sue, you had a comment or question?
Yes, how far this is expanding. My children, my daughter owns a psychotherapy clinic, Choices for Change in Kalamazoo, and she has 12 therapists. And my daughter and her husband. Well, interesting enough, and I was rather surprised, her husband took a course and he refers to it as Jewish psychotherapy. And the course is from the perspective of Judaism, which is very spiritual. And then you go to the Kabbalah, which is practically unity. And it's a special program for therapists. And I would imagine Frank was a great therapist because of his unity, if you did it then, because of your unity background, which we all had before we even started unity and didn't even realize it.
And there are many psychotherapists in practice that use the teachings of A Course in Miracles in their practice. So basically what we've said so far is that psychotherapy is basically a way to getting us to see reality, to see the truth. And it sounds like a simple definition, although it's very holistic, isn't it?
Yes.
It may seem like different cases and different situations, but the goal of psychotherapy seems to be the same. Thanks, Sue. By the way, my daughter is also a psychologist, and we've had some discussions along these lines, and she's embraced it, A Course in Miracles, and that as being valid, but I still don't get the feeling she uses it as a base for her practice like some other psychologists do. So that's all good and well. Like sometimes you may reach the same goals and not recognize it in the same terms or language, if you know what I mean. But we're open to everyone in the profession. And since psychotherapy is the only kind of therapy there is, wouldn't we be psychotherapists in our work as teachers of God?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big time people. Look at you.
Yes.
Saviors of the world. Wow. I think we better continue. Paragraph 4. Who's that, Ron?
Yes, that's me.
All right.
Psychotherapy then must restore to his awareness the ability to make his own decisions. He must become willing to reverse his thinking and to understand that he thought projected its effects on him were made by his projections on the world. The world he sees does therefore not exist. Until this is at least in part accepted, the patient cannot see himself as really capable of making decisions, and he will fight against his freedom because he thinks that it is slavery.
Joan, let's finish this up and then we'll discuss it more.
Okay. The patient need not think of truth as God in order to make progress in salvation, but he must begin to separate truth from illusion, recognizing that they are not the same, and becoming increasingly willing to see illusions as false and to accept the truth as true. His teacher will take him on from there, as far as he is ready to go, Psychotherapy can only save him time. The Holy Spirit uses time as he thinks best, and he is never wrong. Psychotherapy under his direction is one of the means he uses to save time and to prepare additional teachers for his work. There is no end to the help that he begins and he directs. By whatever routes he chooses, all psychotherapy leads to God in the end, but that is up to him. We are all his psychotherapists, for he would have us all be healed in him.
Comments, my friends? Is it that you don't have any questions or comments? Or maybe it's because you don't even know where to start. Maybe we got so many, but I don't get it.
It's interesting that he should say that we are all his psychotherapists.
Where does
So
it say that specifically? Where you?
It's the last sentence in paragraph 5, sentence 10.
Yeah.
We are all his psychotherapists, for he would have us all be healed in him.
We could talk about the last sentence for a few minutes. Thank you, Joan. I think it's worthy. Now, could you explain that to us from a Course in Miracles perspective? We are all his psychotherapists, for he would have us all be healed with him.
Well, when we listen to whoever, a friend or a relative or someone who's sharing something personal with us, and we listen with an open mind and support them, and don't try to solve their problems, but just be sort of a listener and
A sounding board, perhaps.
sounding board. That's kind of what I was looking for. Yeah. And maybe just by listening with compassion, we offer some help to them. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Beautifully said. So I noted, did we just lose somebody? Who is that we lost?
Julie Stout's picture is gone, but
Oh, maybe did
Gina's gone.
Gina's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she probably put
Gina's
something
gone.
in the chat, but she did say she would have to be leaving. So anyhow, back to what Joni was saying about that last sentence. She said, we don't try and solve their problems. We just kind of listen. Why don't we try and solve their problems? Don't
They
you?
find it within themselves.
Pardon
They
me?
have,
They will find it within themselves if we give them unconditional acceptance and unconditional love.
Wow. Yeah, I'm with you there. Some therapists, if you've ever been to therapy, I know I have in the past, sometimes you think you're going to go there and they're going to tell you what to do, right?
yeah.
But better said here, why shouldn't you solve their problems? I mean, you've been to school, you've got degrees, you've been trained. Uh, haven't you been trained to solve their problems and
No.
send them, fix
No.
them and send them on their way? Wasn't that your training?
No.
No.
Well, that's what the public seems to think you were trained to do.
No.
No. They have to learn otherwise if they're going to be helped.
So why can't you just fix them?
Everybody has
Yes,
to fix their own self.
It has to be their own realization and their own doing.
Ultimately, they're their own therapist.
All right.
Yes.
And so the other thing I'm hearing along the way is a kind of group thing, because Jesus says here, we are all his psychotherapists, for he would have us all be healed with him. So I thought you were like this big time psychotherapist. You don't need healing, do you?
Yes.
We all need healing.
Yes.
We all need healing.
Well, isn't that going to be like the blind leading the blind?
No.
I mean,
No,
how can you heal them if you need healing?
that's why we don't heal them.
We don't need
Because
the healing. God within does.
Wow, I'm learning something already. Aren't you,
I think
Yes.
Gilda?
I kind of look at it that when we go through this process of trying to figure out where our ego leads us or doesn't lead us and how to fix what it is that we need to fix, we may not realize that, and we need somebody else maybe to guide us, which could be an expression of ours, of the spirit that leads us, or it could be somebody else, who just, however you want to phrase it, whatever word you want to use. But sometimes you talk to somebody and all of a sudden the light goes off and I said, I never thought about that. That's the way to, so you kind of, you need this communication between, because if we're all one, I mean, one little part has to talk to another little part so that the parts can help each other.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it.
Oh. And
Well
have
said.
you, as our psycho professionals that are with us tonight, have you ever had times in therapy where you go, oh, why'd I say that? I never thought about that. I never knew that myself. Have you ever had an experience like that? It happens to me every week. I'll be talking and acting like I know stuff, and then in the quiet moment, I'm going, "Where'd that come from?" I I didn't. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Uh, anybody ever happen to you, or you always know exactly what you're gonna say to your clients?
Oh, absolutely. We rehearse it.
And so, do you get
I
it?
am going to a therapist. I don't want a therapist that controls me. I don't want a therapist that's rehearsed and learned and everybody falls into a category.
Yeah.
I want to figure it out for myself. Just give me some clues if you see
If you
more
know
than
it.
I know. But it comes from me, period. And,
Yes.
and if I am going to somebody, I don't want them up here and me down here. We're on an equal level, regardless of your education.
So did you learn that in school when you went?
Oh, sure.
Right. So what we're hearing so far is that the first step in therapy is to make a space for that patient to observe themselves. Yes, no?
There's another way of dealing with the issue.
All right. All right. And that is, to me, is different, at least for me, from how the public views psychotherapy. So already we're off to a Course in Miracles perspective, and we've got some professionals here to kind of test it against. Do you have any other comments about the purpose of psychotherapy so far?
I don't know everybody, obviously. I mean, I can't speak for anybody or everybody, but the people I know, in or not in the profession, all feel that way.
Okay, great. That's
It just
insightful
seems like
and encouraging.
That's in quotes normal.
Okay, good deal. I frankly didn't know that. I've never been through that sort of training.
Well,
But
the training has nothing to do with it. As far my training is very different than Frank's training. Frank went to school for 6 years, got his master's.
well, let's stay here a minute then. Frank,
All
were you
different.
taught that your role is to provide a space for the patient rather than trying to teach the patient something?
Provide an atmosphere where they're not judged, they're accepted, they're loved,
Exactly.
Okay.
and find the power within themselves.
So
That's why we're all in unity, because to me, that's what unity is all about.
right. And yet we need to be a bit careful with global statements. It's not been my experience that all psychotherapists are unity people.
Oh,
Are
that's me too.
okay. But that's good to know. So one more thing, let me ask you non-psychotherapist, all right? Was that your definition of what your therapist is going to do when you seek therapy?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
Okay. Because I think a lot of our brothers and sisters go to therapy in order to get somebody to help them fix it.
Well,
Go to the wise one that can tell them how to fix their problem. So it's good for me to see that's not really the approach that therapists take. Thanks for your thumbs up, Julie. Good to know you're listening. Anything else before we move on?
I find our classes are a form of psychotherapy.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, too. I would say that.
I thought we were spiritual.
That's what therapy
we
is.
are, but
It's a form of therapy.
Are you saying as that psychotherapy, like if I went to University of Michigan and was trained as a therapist, uh, I would be exposed to spirituality?
yeah, it's hard to think about, but it's true. And it is spirituality.
Have you thought about it that way before?
Mm,
Did you think psychotherapy was the same as spirituality?
well, I never really thought about it, but now that we are talking and thinking about it, it makes sense to me.
What I
Okay.
received was not spirituality.
Yeah. My
It-
friend
it's
Julie.
far, it's very in depth. And even though my kids, I use an example because I've been a hypnotherapist for a long time, but being unity and loving things that are psychological, I'm always involved in it. It's
Okay.
nothing new. It's just like brushing my teeth.
Yes.
It's just there.
Huh?
It's just there. It's part of us.
Yeah, but it's part of us really as being part of unity. I mean,
Yeah, well, that helps a lot. Yes.
and unity really is a form of psychology,
I
period.
agree. I agree.
I just wanted to read Julie's statement here in the chat. She says, only I can fix my issue, but speaking in a safe space may help me find clarity.
Exactly.
Very important.
Yeah. So already I don't know, it's a different perspective than I had on psychotherapy. It seems very close to being like religious or spiritual. And the other thing is, before we move on, were you surprised at the statement in that last sentence that Joan summarized? She said, he would have us all be healed in him. I thought the patient needed healing. We all need
I
healing.
think, yes, I think that was implied anyway, I thought, in what in our discussions tonight. And
Oh, wait. The psychotherapist doesn't need healing. They're the teacher.
they're people too, and they have their
Yes.
issues.
But that just because you went to college, and I don't care if you're a therapist, a scientist, a doctor, it doesn't make any difference.
No,
The fact is, you're a person with a skill, and
Yes.
that's where it ends. And if you have a beautiful skill of helping people to see themselves and move forward, that's great. And everybody, not everybody, but well, everybody has uniqueness and they don't
Yeah.
all do it the same in anything. I don't care what
Right.
it is.
All right. So
Excuse
I can already see what wise
little girl.
you are as we start to approach this. Everyone is a psychotherapist. It's just that some of us at times in our life need a specialized program
Yes.
under specialized teachers of what we're all doing all the time for each other. So the mission of psychotherapy is quite broad in truth.
Yes.
All right. So as we go into this, we're going to be talking about the specialized teachers, but the principles of what the specialized teachers do have generalized implications. And that's why it's for everyone, and we should pay attention. Let's keep going. We're on item 2 in psychotherapy. It's called the process of psychotherapy. And I'm showing we're back to Sherilyn White, correct?
Yes.
Go right ahead, dear.
Okay. The process of psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is a process that changes the view of the self. At best, this new self is a more beneficent self concept, but psychotherapy can hardly be expected to establish reality. That is not its function. If it can make way for reality, it has achieved its ultimate success. Its whole function in the end is to help the patient deal with one fundamental error, the belief that anger brings him something he really wants, and that by justifying attack, he is protecting himself. To whatever extent he comes to realize that this is an error, To that extent is he truly saved.
Whoa. Gina left, so we're up to Frank.
Patients do not enter the therapeutic relationship with this goal in mind. On the contrary, such concepts mean little to them or in mind. On the contrary, such concepts mean little to them or they would not need help. Their aim is to be able to retain their self-concept exactly as is, but nothing in the suffering that it entails. Their whole equilibrium rests on the desire, on the insane belief that this is possible. And because in the sane mind it is so clearly impossible, what they seek is magic. In illusions, the impossible is easily accomplished, but only at the cost of making illusions true. The patient has already paid the price. Now he wants a better illusion.
Well, I need to get some clarification here, okay? In paragraph 2, sentence 2, on the contrary, such concepts mean little to them, or they would not need help. What concepts mean little to them? I'm confused. You?
It says in paragraph 1, sentence, where is it? 5. Its whole function in the end is to help the patient deal with one fundamental error, the belief that anger brings him something he really wants, and by justifying attack, he is protecting himself. That's why people go to therapy a lot of times, because they're very angry about something or someone.
Well, sentence 5 says its whole function, right?
Mhm.
What's whole function is to do that? I got to read.
Psychotherapy, I would think.
Psychotherapy
It's a process of psychotherapy.
is to help the patient deal.
Well, okay. Let me make sure, Sherilyn, okay?
Of course.
It's when you see this pronoun its, it means it's already told you what that is, right? So I got to go back.
Right.
See if I can discern what it is when it talks about its whole function. Now, is that psychotherapy? It may be. I'm just confused. Somebody help clarify this, okay?
I think it just goes back to the first word of the sentence in the introduction. Psychotherapy is the
All right.
point.
So
that's what we're talking about.
all right. So here's what I'm going to do. Sentence 5. Psychotherapy's whole function in the end is to help the patient deal with one fundamental error. That reads great to me. I'm doing good so far, right? Thank you,
Yes.
Shirley White.
Yes.
The belief that anger brings him something he really wants. It makes me think about one of the prominent teachings in the course. We've talked about this all the time. Jesus said, anger in any form is never justified. Y'all remember that from studying the course?
Yes.
Here it is showing up again. It is the whole issue. Well, I won't say the whole issue because we've got to read more. But it seems to be the fundamental thing that makes a problem. Anger. What
I
is,
don't want to have any problems.
well, what is anger? How do you define anger?
Somewhere didn't we read that anger is really fear?
Well,
You
that's
see,
true, but is it not on the level we're talking about more deeply? I totally agree about where the reason,
Pushing God away.
but what is the act of anger itself?
It's an ego function.
That's
Well,
right.
that's
yeah,
That's
true,
right.
it's an ego, but what is anger?
I think it starts with a recognition that something is wrong with yourself.
I'm
And
separate
you can't
from God.
quite figure out what it is, but you know it's there. And so you start out by being angry with yourself, about yourself.
All
You know,
right.
something.
Yeah. And Julie is communicating through the text box. She says anger is upset at self or others. And then she says, I think, blame. I agree, Julie.
yeah.
Uh, can you think of another word for anger?
Or rage.
Great. How about one that starts with a G and then a R and an I and an
Me
E?
and then an F.
What's that? Sue, what'd you say?
Are you saying grief?
I'm
G-R-I-E-F.
saying grievance.
Grievance is a grievance.
Grievance.
So anger is a grievance. A grievance is when I think anger anger is a response to a grievance. How am I doing now?
I'm projecting what's within to the outside world.
That makes sense.
Okay. But it reflects that I think something is wrong and needs to be made right.
But it comes from within me.
It's in you.
Lesson 68 says love holds no grievances. So if I'm seeing that if I think that something is wrong, I must be hallucinating. What's another name for hallucination? Starts with an I. I'm seeing things.
Illusion.
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 Right? So are we connecting a little bit to what we've studied before?
Right.
But now it's being put into a more specialized application for professionals we call psychotherapists. That's
Tell you, there is no way. I don't care if you're a psychotherapist or you're somebody without a high school education. There is no way I would ever tell somebody some of that information. First of all, I don't call people patients because
Right.
they're teaching me as I am teaching them. I don't care what profession I'm in. Forget the psychotherapy now. And what you're saying for me is not new. That's what I always felt. Don't ask me why. And I interview, if I'm going to a therapist, I interview them. I interview them to see what we have in common if we could work together. Yeah, I want to know what their background is, but that's minor. I want to see how they work with particular situations, because there are a lot of people who are schooled, but that doesn't mean they're good therapists.
So do you know of any colleagues in your profession that see their patient, that do their work with patients?
They're what?
Clients?
Call them clients.
Local
Do you
clients?
have any
My
colleagues?
daughter, they're clients. They're not patients.
I understand, Sue, but do all psychotherapists see their cases as patients? Some people that are sick and need help.
Some do, some don't. It also depends on what's wrong with them.
All
There are
right.
people
So
who have an actual mental sickness.
you're
I
among
call
perhaps
them
the
with
more
mental sickness.
enlightened group of therapists.
You have all different types of problems. They're not all the same.
I think that's a wise approach. I'm just wondering if that is the training and practice of most psychiatrists and psychologists. Some, you get the feeling they see you as a
Patients.
patient, like there's
I never
something
go to
wrong
somebody
with you. Yes?
I wouldn't go to somebody like that. Even if my son died by suicide, and he selected the people he went to. Well, I don't want to get into a whole story, but he, in my opinion, he was a remarkable person in the things he did for himself to get rid of the voices, et cetera, et cetera. But the people he went to, if they talked down to him, if they acted like I'm the boss up here, you do what I say, he would be gone. I just know from his personality.
I'm just saying there are a lot of therapists
People like that.
see the
Yes.
relationship that way as unequal. I'm normal and there's something wrong with you. And that's why you come to me to help you be normal again. So that's why I wanted to clarify in our reading what we were talking about before, and that is the cause of psychotherapy as the starting point is that when your response is anger, it's a sure sign you're hallucinating. You're responding to things that are not real. We call them illusions.
What I'm responding to is not out there.
Okay. So, what is your task to help your client then?
There's another way of looking at this.
Yeah. And the other way of looking at it is to see the truth instead of illusions. You're obviously seeing illusions. I can tell from the response you're making. So let's take another look at these things so we can begin to understand that the issue is not with them, or other things, but how you're choosing to see them. And I can tell that you're making a wrong choice. How can I tell? One of the surest signs is anger. Now, we talk about being angry a lot in A Course in Miracles, but now we're going to talk about anger and what it demonstrates from a more specialized point of view in terms of helping your brothers and sisters. As teachers of God, is that not our mission? So basically, what I'm saying is our mission is to help brothers and sisters see clearly and not hallucinate. How are we doing with this paragraph? Or didn't we read 2 paragraphs?
Yes.
Yes.
Uh, where are we? Didn't we
Paragraph 3,
paragraphs 1 and 2, right?
yes.
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 So paragraph 2 says, patients do not enter the therapeutic relationship with this goal in mind. On the contrary, such concepts like anger, am I right so far? Are we talking anger? We started out saying what concept, right?
Okay.
The concept that anger will gain you something is a sure sign that you're hallucinating. Such concepts mean little to them, or they would not need help. They don't understand that what they're responding to is not reality. Does that have implications for your relationships? Do you ever get angry?
Yep, definitely.
Yep.
Does that mean you're psycho?
No.
Yes, it does.
It means you hallucinate.
Okay. You're not in the office of a psychotherapist. You're out here in the wild in everyday life being insane. Never thought about it that way, did you?
No.
So bottom line, we're all insane.
Here.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I'm here.
That in our wish to make ourselves better than others, there are people that are a little insane, some that are moderately insane, and some that are really insane. So we need to lock them up so we can feel better. But we're all suffering from the same thing, illusions. How do we know we're suffering from the same things? Look at our responses to reality. Who's got their course book there? You all got them. Go to lesson 52 and just read the first thing there in lesson 52.
I'm upset because I'm seeing what is not there.
All right, but read that next section after that,
I see only the past.
after the title. After I am upset because I see what is not there. Read the next sentence, Frank.
Reality is never frightening.
Oh, you can stop there. Okay. So if I see you acting out We know it's from fear. That's fundamentally the source. But what's crazy about it is you're acting out from a fear that's not real. You're not seeing reality. Go to here. I'm sorry, we never know where spirit's leading here. But if you go to page 401 in the workbook for students, let me find that real quick. We're on a section that's on page 401. It says, what is forgiveness? I'm sorry, Hilda, you were saying?
I said, that's what I said. What is forgiveness?
Yeah, what is forgiveness? And look at paragraph 3. No, let's just do 2. An unforgiving thought is one which makes a judgment that it will not raise to doubt, although it is not true. And then in paragraph 3, Jesus gives us a description of what an unforgiving thought does. He says an unforgiving thought does many things. In frantic action, it pursues its goal, twisting and overturning what it sees as interfering with its chosen path. Distortion is the unforgiving thought's purpose, and the means by which it would accomplish it as well. It sets about in furious attempts to smash reality without concern for anything that would appear to pose a contradiction to its point of view. Is that how you act when you get angry?
Very likely.
Okay. Literally, you're going crazy. You're seeing what's not there. And we don't question that because everybody does it. But what the Course teaches is that when you respond with anger in any form, you are not the therapist, you are the client. Did you already know that?
Yep.
Or you might say, well, I never thought about it that way. Isn't the purpose of all of this to get us thinking differently? And when you think differently, you've heard this, and as a man thinketh,
so is he.
So is he. Yes.
So what you see will change when what you think changes. What we're seeing is not real. I don't believe that. Well, truth has nothing to do with what you believe, does it? Do you see why psychotherapy engages, in a true sense, engages with truth? So thank you for taking that little detour with me. Let's see if we can, do you have any questions or comments, or Jim, you're the one that's crazy, I admit it. Or anything. All right. We are up to, aren't we up to Ron?
Yes,
Paragraph 3.
paragraph 3. At the beginning, then, the patient's goal and the therapist are at variance. Therapist, as well as the patient, may cherish false self-concepts, but their respective perceptions of improvement still must differ. The patient hopes to learn how to get the changes he wants without changing his self-concept to any significant extent. He hopes, in fact, to stabilize it sufficiently to include within it the magical powers he seeks in psychotherapy. He wants to make the vulnerable invulnerable, and the finite limitless. The self he sees is his God, small g, and he seeks only to serve it better.
Yeah. And let's do the one more paragraph in this section, okay? The introduction. We're up to Joni.
Okay. Regardless of how sincere the therapist himself may be, he must want to change the patient's self-concept in some way that he believes is real. The task of therapy is one of reconciling these differences. Hopefully, both will learn to give up their original goals, for it is only in relationships that salvation can be found. At the beginning, it is inevitable that patients and therapists alike accept unrealistic goals, not completely free of magical overtones. They are finally given up in the minds of both.
What's that saying? And well, let's just go with this last paragraph. Does the therapist need help?
He may.
Yeah, maybe we talked about that.
What do we say about it?
They both need help.
We both need help.
So here we go. Let's see. I am here to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. How will I be healed? It says in that prayer.
As I let him teach me to heal.
Wait. In this arena where we are at psychotherapy, are you saying that the therapist is being healed by the client?
That could really happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you're a therapist, you are being healed by your client?
Mhm.
You're being healed together.
And how are you being healed? Through teaching.
Mhm.
Right. By the Holy Spirit.
Yes, ma'am.
That too.
So I will be healed as I let the Holy Spirit teach me to heal others. So do you see it's a twofer all the time? A relationship will benefit not just the teacher, will benefit not just the student, that's the client, but it's also going to benefit the teacher. Now, there's a principle in the course you may have accepted, quote unquote, without much thought. But don't you remember where it says, I will be healed? Where it says, you learn what you teach. do you see the mutuality of those goals and that they're not separate? There is no teacher and learner because the learner learns and benefits from your teaching, and the teacher learns and benefits from their teaching. But is it their teaching that's in play here? Or isn't there a third party
Holy Spirit.
Oh, true.
benefiting both? When you walk in with that understanding, you're able to facilitate true healing, because true healing, what's the definition of healing? The restoration of wholeness,
Yes.
the restoration of oneness. So do you see that the teaching progress, or excuse me, the teaching process under the Holy Spirit's guidance is designed to bring together not just the student,
The teacher.
but the teacher as well.
Mhm.
So if you're a psychotherapist and you walk into a session with your client or your patient or your student, whatever you want to say, you're not there to just give.
You're there to get.
You're there to receive also.
Mhm.
To the extent I'm open to sharing and giving, I will benefit also. So healing is through a mutual bringing together. And it's in that spirit that both the therapist and the patient will be healed. I will be healed as I let the Holy Spirit teach me to heal others. So my healing, my teaching not only benefits them, who else does it benefit?
So,
Therapist.
Yes. So you can come off your pedestal, right? Those therapists that think they're just under God Himself. And so this is the nature of the specialized teaching that we're going to be involved with over the next, I estimate, into March, okay, to do both of these supplements. You liking it so far, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
That's-
very interesting.
absolutely.
All right. Well, I think we're not gonna go. I didn't have any music or meditation or anything tonight. I just thought we'd get right into it so you can get the flavor of the study. And I'm looking at your faces, and I think it's gonna be good. I'm excited about it. I've been looking for it. I've only been through this one time. So this will be my second time through. Who are my first timers going through this? Frank and maybe Sue. Have you?
No, I've been, the
And
psychotherapy I've done,
I'm sorry, Sue, you said what?
the psychotherapy I've done before.
This in the Course in Miracles
Right.
here, right?
the first time there.
Okay, so I've got Frank and Ron that are new to this study. I hope you enjoy it.
True.
Oh, and Sherilyn, Frank, Ron, and Sherilyn. So new adventures await, people, and I know you're up for it. Any other final comments? It's about time to close out
Thanks
this.
for insights, Jim. Thank you.
Good deal. Thank you, sir. See how we're doing this?
Yeah.
Frank's going, thank you. And I'm going, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because we're teaching and learning. We're both teachers and learners. So, by the way, if you want to learn fast, teach.
Yeah.
That's how you learn faster, okay? Thank you, Julie Stout. And Julie, it's good to have you back. We haven't seen your face here per se, but I'm so glad you could join us and come back anytime. Anything else, guys?
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely, Julie. So we'll see you all next time, and let's do our closing, and we'll be out of here, okay? Hilda?
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. I am the light of God.
I
I
am
am
the
the light
The
of
light
God.
of God.
I am the love of God.
I
I
am
am
the love
the
of
love
God.
of God.
God.
I am the power of God.
I am the
I
power.
am the
And
power of
Power
God.
of God.
I am the presence of God.
I
I
am
the
the
presence
The
of
presence
God.
of
presence of
God.
God.
there.
Therefore,
Therefore,
wherever I am,
Wherever
Wherever I am,
God is,
God is,
God
God
is,
and all is well.
and
And
all
and
is
all is well.
There is nothing to fear.
there
there
is
is
There is nothing to fear.
fear.
There is only love.
There is only love.
Only love.
Namaste.
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 Namaste, dudes. Wishing you a good rest of the week as usual. And see you back here next time. Hoping the creek don't rise or anything like that. Take care. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
Have a blessed week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.